Hello, welcome back, and this is module 3. Thank you for subscribing. So in last video, I talked about how I got started. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can get started. And first things first, let's assess what you are, financially and knowledge-wise. So financially, you will like to consider your 401k, your savings, your credit cards and how much credit lines you actually have, and lenders, whether banks, hard money, family and friends, you name it. Now, on the knowledge front, you also need to assess or at least have an idea where you're standing. So first, you need to understand how much do you know about real estate? What is your power team? I'm pretty sure you've heard about that. Do you have any lawyers? Do you have any realtors? How much time do you have? Real estate is actually very time consuming when you're trying to set it up. And even afterwards, unless you have a way to automate everything, it's going to require some of your attention. And with a full-time job, you're going to have to juggle that a little bit. And last but not least, how dirty are you willing to get to? Do you want to do everything hands-on, or do you want to actually delegate that to someone else and help you, but that's going to eat into your profit? So now, your 401k. I'm not sure if you knew about this, but there's two ways to take money out of your 401k. You can borrow it, or you can completely cash out against it. I don't recommend cashing out because one, you're going to get hit with a 10% penalty, and two, you're actually going to have to pay taxes for the money that you take out because it's going to be considered an income. But if you borrow against it, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. What's going to happen is you're going to have to repay it on a monthly basis, but you can actually adjust it with your brokerage house, how you want to repay that 401k. And you're going to have two choices when it comes to borrowing money out of your 401k. You can borrow up to 50% of your money, or 50,000, I think it is, as of 2018. I'm not sure. You're going to have to do a little bit of research on that, but when I took it out, I think it was 50,000 max. Now, in terms of savings, let's assume, okay, I have, like my other investor I mentioned earlier in this module, $40,000. So you have $40,000 here. You can borrow up to, let's say, $25,000 here. I'm just making up numbers, okay, guys? So 25, 40, and then a total of credit cards. I know people have a very negative conception about credit cards, but credit cards are awesome. They can help you get to where you need to get to if you know how to manage them very efficiently. I'm going to create a separate module that's going to cover all about credit cards, but in the meantime, bear with me. So let's assume you have a total of credit line of $20,000. And then in terms of lender, then that's going to be based on your credit, how much the property that you intend to buy is. The general rule is if you go to the bank, they will borrow or lend you up to 3 to 4 times your annual income. So whatever you declare in your property taxes, you take it out and they're going to assess the whole picture holistically. So assuming that you have a good credit, most lenders require at least a 620. You don't need to have a 700, but if you have a 620, that's enough for you to actually be able to qualify for a mortgage. So I'll leave that number for you to fill it out, but considering all of these three, you're going to have a total of 40, 65, 85K for a down payment. So most places typically require you to put down a 20% if you're not going to live in that area, in that specific house, actually, in that location, or you can actually put 5% down if you plan to use that as your primary home. So what you can do, you can buy anything from a single family and then just rent it out by a room, or just live there for 1 year and then completely move out and just rent it out, and or just get a duplex. You live on one side and then you rent out the other side. There's so many ways to go about this. This is just the beginning. And of course, we're going to consider some of the ideas as we move along the other modules, but this is just to get started on the thinking process. So this is what you are right now in terms of how much you know financially. So now moving along to the personal aspect of it in terms of knowledge, you need to understand or at least be aware of how much you actually know about real estate, right? Most of us have an idea. We know about the realtor. We know that we can actually leverage some of the knowledge that you learned in HDTV. You can actually go online, look at Zillow, Redfin. In New York City, we have Street Easy, and some of those pages that you can use to sort of like get an idea. But I mean, it's more than just the pictures, right? How do you know about the local economics, the stats? Were there any jobs in the area and stuff like that? Do you even know how to search it without having to travel all the way down to that location? Let's say you want to invest in Florida, but you live all the way up in Massachusetts. You can't afford to take a trip down there every time you find a house on Zillow and, oh, let me just move that. You could, once you have done the proper assessment, leveraging any of the tools on the internet. Tools like Google Earth, which I'm sure you've learned that through Elite, and the knowledge of your realtor, if you have a good relationship with that realtor, and so many other pages that that are going to help you understand the local economics. I do have a couple that I can share with you down the other modules, but for the purpose of this video in particular, just try to think it through and be truthful to yourself. How much do you know where you're standing at today, so that way you know what you need to build in order to bridge that gap. And then the power team. How many people do you know in the real estate field? So it's more than just the realtor, right? You're gonna need contractors, you're gonna need an attorney that's gonna help you with the closing, you're gonna need a lender as well, because if you don't have the money, then chances are you're not gonna be able to close, and cleaning services, a gardener, things that you normally don't think of, but they all are part of the whole picture. And then time, how much time do you have? So I have a full-time job, and I have to juggle a lot with what I could do outside of those 40 hours. So I had to get very creative. I leveraged the full hour of my lunch break. I used to normally just take time of my lunch break and just get ahead with work. But for the purpose of building my portfolio, I actually had to take a full hour lunch break. I will eat at my desk and then just grab my computer, my laptop, and my cell phone, step out, and have those conversations with a realtor, multiple lenders, all during, I don't know, I would say the process of like 3 months while I was negotiating. And then in the evenings, I had to sacrifice my gym time. I actually love exercising. It helps me keep my sanity. Then that's something you need to assess and ask yourself. How much time do I need to set aside, and if I have it? And if you don't, figure out what you can move around in order to make this investment happen. Because this is not just an investment on a property, on a house. It's an investment in yourself, in your future, and in your happiness. And then if you don't have the time, how much can you actually delegate? Do you even have people that you can delegate to? So I didn't delegate anything while I was building my portfolio, mainly because I wanted to learn how things are done. I figure you can read a lot of books, but until you actually get hands-on and you learn how to get things done, that's the only way you're going to be able to learn about the pain points, learn ways to automate it so that it can work for you, and build your relationships. For the purpose of building my portfolio, I actually didn't delegate anything to anybody. Why? Because I needed to learn. I didn't want to be one of those investors who would just hire people and eventually gets ripped off along the line. I know it was a little slow because I was kind of like getting in the way of things moving efficiently, but I needed to understand what the pain points are, what was working for me, and how I can actually recreate this in a very efficient way sometime around the future. So you actually need to assess that yourself. Do you have a partner that you can actually delegate to, that's going to help your life easier? In my case, I didn't have that. I have a partner who was silent. She actually had the money that helped me invest, but I had to do everything myself. She didn't know. I mean, she kind of had an idea what I was doing, but she wasn't going to take the time out of her busy schedule and try to assess that and do the work herself. So this is it and a full picture. Try to be truthful to yourself. This is not a competition. This is not about, oh, I need to do it as fast as Lucy. Do it at your race. I did it fast because I feel that time ticking, and I was running out of time in terms of spending time with my family. So you need to find out what really works best for you, considering all of these talking points in your mind. So that's it for this module. And please, if you find this information very valuable, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next module. Ciao.